Hi guys, so just want to do some video feedback and analysis of Sam's set. He's just posted up, obviously 7 minutes after a bit of a Christmas period. Obviously there's going to be a bit of rust there, but I just thought I'd just share quite a bit of it because I thought it'd be really useful for everybody to have a look at it and see what they think. So, like I say, I've just been watching his full set, so I just want to give some good feedback on it, but also highlight some common issues. So straight away here, now if I just get the brush out, I'll just get rid of this, hopefully, there we go, it's a bit better. So if I just highlight this area here, you can see that Sam's elbows are quite elevated, so they're more upwards facing. Now what this means, and we'll see it in a second, is when he does his first dip and bump, he's actually going to be hitting the bells up, so the legs aren't going to be pushing through the elbows, they're going to kind of slapping against, and we'll see that as we just play this next rep here. So as we come down, I'll wait for it to play on this next rep. So he's gone around about 10. So as they go down, there's a bit of a slap, there's disconnect there. So as you can see, the elbows, they have to go down, then their legs are pushing up against and stuff, okay? So what that's doing is that's just taking out quite a few reps out, taking quite a few bits of power out of the legs into the bells, which is going to obviously slow him down as the bells get heavier. Obviously Sam's really strong, so he knows that he can push these, but that being said, we want to try and make sure that we're correcting these. Another one that we've got at the moment is this. So as soon as his heels are landing, we can see there that the timing's just slightly off. So what I mean by that is the bells aren't fully fixated, so you can see that we've got a bit of a bend in the elbows there. Now Sam can get his arms straight, so obviously we just need to work on that timing. So as you drop under the kettlebells, your arms want to be completely locked out as much as you possibly can. Do say if you do have a bit of an elbow injury or whatever it may be, but you still, as soon as your heels touch the floor in that second dip position, your arms want to be straight or in a fixated position. So and you can see if we just continue the rep here, they continue to go up. So as we could see, if we see Sam's overhead position, you know that he can be in better position on that second dip, and that's going to cause him a lot of fatigue in his shoulders. So what that's saying straight away there is the fact that he's using a lot of his shoulders to actually get the kettlebells up. There's not as much at legs doing a lot of the work, so his shoulders can press them up. Again, these are 20s, so you're going to be able to get away with it on the lighter weight, but as we transition into the heavier weight, this is definitely going to hold you back if you're used to relying on pressing or initiating a lot of the movement with the shoulders. And another thing on the jerk position is, as we can see, overhead is, I know it's not the greatest angle, but if we just highlight here where the kettlebell is actually distributed, it's basically what we've got is pretty much predominantly most of the weight of the bell is on the inside. So if we think about the way the shoulders distributing that weight there, because that pinky finger's rotated right out, what we're saying is as he comes down, he has to rotate this pinky finger back in to then drop the bells. So if we just play a couple of reps, and hopefully we can see it as we go overhead. Let's see if I can play it back slower. I can't on this one. So the bells are having to really rotate to bring back down. So what we want to try and do is we want to try and make sure that when we're in, I'll get to another rep here, when we're overhead, we want to try and have the weight evenly distributed. So we want to try and have half of the weight of the kettlebell on this side and half on the other side. So I can, and it's because I've seen Sam lift in person that I know that this happens quite a lot, is the fact that it rotates because there is a bit of stiffness and a bit of tightness in the shoulders, and that's what's causing that over rotation there. Now, again, the reason for that is if we think about the way the weight is distributed overhead there, so where Sam's got that weight, now over time, the shoulder's really going to start to fatigue because all of that weight is rotated, it's pointed inward. Okay, if we want that weight evenly distributed, so it's again all part of the arm is taking over. So if I skip forward unfairly towards the back end of the reps, we could see that overhead really starting to having to work hard. Yes, it's a 7-minute set, but hopefully you're starting to see there's a lot of rotation, has to rotate. And again, if you rotate that way, well, you know that you're going to have to really come back that way. So the way the shoulder's working, it's going up, back and down each time, every single rep. Now, if we think over a 10-minute set, that's happening excessively, okay, and it's not really getting you in a position where, especially Sam's going at around about 10-11 reps a minute here, he's not in a position where he's going to be able to relax for longer periods anyway. So he wants to try and work in a position where the kettlebells distribute even, the weight is distributed evenly overhead, so that when he does drop, he's dropping into a bit of a better position, but actually when he's overhead, he knows that that weight is getting carried across the full shoulder. It's not just rotating inwards. So then when he has to rotate it outwards, there's smaller muscles that are having to work to really try and bring that back round. So if we'll look at shoulder internal, external rotation, if we're overhead, we can see that actually if I rotate that pinky finger right towards inwards and then I have to rotate it back, well, actually that shoulder, that it's working overtime to actually facilitate that movement. Whereas if I'm traveling straight up and down in a nice straight line, or very little rotation, it's going straight up, well, we know that it's going to then come pretty much straight down, and there's not going to be as much rotation on either side of that shoulder joint. And one last little bit that I wanted to, sorry Sam, I'm not picking on you too much, mate. I just thought it was really good because it's quite a lot of common mistakes that a lot of people do make. If we look at Sam's feet when he's cleaning specifically and in jerk, so I'll try and, I think the camera jumps around a little bit, or Sam moves a little bit further into his set. So just concentrating on the feet here, guys. Specifically, as we can see, if I just highlight this area here, now as the weight is behind him, we can see that he's rocking onto the heels. So if I try and catch it on the next rep, we'll be able to see that's it, that his toes pointing up. So yeah, he's lost a bit of stability there, but there. So again, I'll try and catch it on this next one. But pause there. We can see that that toe is lifted a little bit. Now what that means is he's not using all of his body weight to transfer that weight of the bell right the way across. So because he's rocking onto the heels in the backswing, what that's doing is actually stopping some of the momentum. So what we want to do is we want to counteract and move around the kettlebell. So we want to chuck our weight forward rather than allowing it to rock too far back onto the heels. Because again, the body weight that Sam is, very similar to myself, we want to make sure that we can utilize our body weight and move around the bells as efficiently and effectively as possible, so then we can get as many reps as we possibly can as well. And then another thing on that is if we watch Sam's first dip and jerk, and again, if we just highlight the feet, I'll try and get the brush up here, guys. So if I just want you to try and concentrate on the foot. So as we go down, you can see that when he does first dip, there's a double-barreled movement there, so there's a little judder. So what that means is there's a lot of weight shifting forward. Now, because it's shifting forward, that's going to take a lot of weight, a lot of force from the upward part of the movement. So when we do our first dip, what we want to try and achieve is we want to try and achieve a position where we are bending the knees, but our foot is staying completely flat. What tends to happen sometimes is people bend the knees, but their heel is lifting off before they've even started to initiate the bump movement and that triple extension. So hips, knee and ankles haven't been able to go up. Now, what that means there is when that happens is more force is going forward rather than loading into the floor diagonally, so then we can really propel that force straight up. Now, a few of the lifters in the gym have been having similar sorts of issues. Is when they've been doing first dip, they're actually causing themselves to go forward too much. So that means that they're sort of really driving their knees forward, and it's causing the heel to lift off the floor. Okay, so something to try and work on. Obviously for Sam there, he's got a few little things, but I just really wanted to highlight that because a lot of people make similar sorts of mistakes or similar sorts of problems during their lifts and stuff, and sometimes it's very difficult to pinpoint this is. So hopefully this video has been helpful, but it's also helpful for me because it also highlights some of the problems and the issues that sometimes happen during my sets as well. So it's always good to go through these things. So obviously the biggest things that we can work on with Sam is we can go back, we can look at his ankle flexibility to see if that is an issue. So we'll retest him on that. We obviously need to, his shoulder lift off is really good. So we know that actually it's his traps that are quite tight and they're sort of elevating his scapula a little bit, which is stopping him to sort of drop that force straight down. Okay, so again, in weight transfer, it's just a matter of getting that feeling and really drilling it in. I dare say, I was watching Sam lift the other day, and it was a hell of a lot sharper and a bit cleaner. But this time of year, when we've had lots of time off, Christmas and everything else like that, he's probably just concentrating on trying to burn off that turkey dinner, you know. But like I say, hopefully you got a lot of good tips from that, guys. And yeah, any questions, get in touch, and I'm more than happy to help. Speak soon.